Most people say I have to talk to a lot of people. What does that mean?
Right.
So the formula being how much do you want to make divided by what you make on a sale equals the number of sales you need. Number of sales you need times your closing ratio. So if I'm a realtor and I need to go out and talk to 50 people to make one sale, from inbound calls to outbound calls to networking to everything I do to drum up business for if I was a realtor, if I had to talk to 50 people, 20 sales times 50 to 1 ratio is 1,000 contacts. It's a contact sport, like you said. Yeah. So if I work 333 days a year and I give myself 32 days off, I need to talk to 3 people about real estate every day. See, the pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Most people aren't doing the little disciplines every day. 3 contacts a day. So your question was, how do you get from here to here? Well, if you know your ratio, it's really easy. Just go talk to 3 people, if that's the number.
That's a great formula, and that's pretty true. You talk about most people, and we sort of have a spreadsheet we have people fill out, like you just add it on there. How many people are in your social media? How many people are in your email? How many people are you sending a newsletter to? How many people are you speaking in front of? Right, all these things, and they're points. And if you don't have enough points, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah. So, and the cool thing is, if you want to make 100 grand, fine. I don't know about you. I know probably for sure you're not happy with 100 grand. Neither am I. So how do you make 200? Well, it's easy. Take your 3 and make it 6. I mean, let's not get too difficult here. It's pretty easy to be successful. But the challenge is most people don't have that number, that ratio figured out. Therefore, they don't know how easy it is to double, even quadruple their income. Because if you think about it, if someone's 50 to 1 of a ratio, how do they become 25 to 1? Go get better. Stop watching TV. Because what's the TV? It's a bunch of negative things. Hang out with positive people, read books, go to seminars. Because what happens? You'll hang out with people who are doing things and optimism and so forth. So my formula is 1 to 4 good ideas. Takes you from wherever you are to in half. So 50 to 1 to 25 to 1. How do you do that? Go grab 1 to 4 good ideas and apply them. Don't grab 1 to 4 ideas. Go apply the ideas. And I think that's the formula. If you take that formula, that's double the income, 100 grand to 200 grand.
Right.
And then how do you go from 50 to 1 to 25 to 1? Go grab a couple of ideas and apply them. That's another 200. Add the 2 up, you have 400 grand. And you've seen it. You have people working for you that are making that kind of money. But you also have people working for you that are making a lot less than that. Why? It all comes down to knowing the number, knowing that ratio, that magic number every day. And the cool thing I like about the ratio, because a lot of people are talking about attitude now. How do I stay up? Because, you know, if things are negative out there and so forth. If you take that formula, 50 to 1 was the ratio.
Right.
Most people in sales, if I ask the question, how much do you make when someone says no? Most of them say nothing. And how many of you, if you think about it, if they hear no 40 times, what happens to their attitude? It starts to go down. They get call reluctance. They don't want to call anyone else. They don't want to get off the couch and go talk to somebody. But if you knew your ratio was 50 to 1 and you got to your 40th rejection, what do you want to do? Go talk to 10 more people. So the cool thing about the formula that I like about it is if you divide 50 no's into 1 yes, and 5 grand is what they make on an average sale, we're making the numbers up, but 50 divided by 5,000 is $100.
Right.
So wouldn't it be cool if every salesperson knew their ratio and could, every time someone said no to them, say thanks for the $100 and go talk to somebody else.
Right, yeah.
So.
Yeah, in real estate, you know, it's such a relationship-based business. Sometimes you're not really getting a direct no. I mean, you're sending out 20. I mean, I'm working with a client right now that I sold him his first house 23 years ago. I'm on him with his 3rd wife, and he's still using me. You see, but you know, I sent him stuff. He keeps in touch. It's, you know, so there's dry spells of 5-7 years where he's, I guess, saying no. I'm hoping to get referrals, which I have out of him. But it takes that. I mean, here's what I'm mostly shocked by. Agents I talk to and interview all the time cannot produce a list of people at all in any format, in a piece of paper format or in a database, other than maybe an email database. So that's...
Well, a sale will make someone a living. A relationship will make someone a fortune. So what's the power of keeping your... I mean, think about it. The best salesperson on a salesperson's team should be the client. And I ask that question every day in my audiences. Who's the best salesperson here? And everybody points to the top producer, and I say, congratulations for being the best. But for the rest of you, let me give you another way to look at this. The best salesperson on your team should be your client. Because if a salesperson says it based on the average American perception of a salesperson, they're going to doubt them. But what if somebody else says it? Says, you got to go see Mark. boom, best salesperson on your team is your client. Relationships.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk about 2010 planning.
Well, what I would say about this is in my 13, 14 years of talking to sales organizations, typically the buzz around November, and especially last year, and I'm sure it's going to happen this year, it's already happening actually, is I'm hearing a lot of this, can't wait till next year. And if you think about it, we're October 23rd, and people are going, I can't wait till next year. Well, when I look around my audience, most of the time they're all human beings, which is good because they've been blessed with this thing called the dignity of choice. So I would challenge them to this. If they don't like the first half of their life, the good news is they don't have to repeat it. They can change it. And so the cool thing about sales is if someone doesn't like the first 6 months or 9 months of their year, they don't have to keep repeating it. They can change it. And so something I challenge salespeople to do is think about, don't start your year until it's finished. In other words, well, you went to Montana State, played football.
Yes.
So I'm gonna guess that you were there before all the other students, and you guys were doing a thing called training camp. And so I like to play off of sports a lot because the athletes are the highest paid profession in the world. Well, what are the things that make them successful? And one of the things is they're always practicing. They're always looking at ways to get better. So something that I do, and this is just something I do, is I start my year November 1st. Because if you think about it, most people set these New Year's resolutions. And if you go to the gym, you know how the gym is in January. February, it's a little less packed, and in March, it's back to normal. So what I always try to do is ask myself November 1st, what could I be better at? What could I improve in? What is my competition kicking my butt in? And what do I need to read? What do I need to learn to get better in those areas? And that way, when January 1st hits, I'm out of the gates, and my competition's maybe just getting over their hangover.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, we're actually doing our planning day this year is November 10th.
Right.
It's a big day for us.
Yep. And that goes back to days. I mean, don't start your day until it's finished. Most people don't have a list of things they're going to do, and therefore what happens in the day? They major in minor things, like we talked about earlier, and they're going to stay where they are.
Yeah, I like that, majoring. Keeping busy in the thick of thin things, as Covey would say.
Sure.
Majoring in minor things. I think, that's like, I'm a big proponent of you don't put your own signs up, you don't produce your own brochures, you don't build your own websites, you don't do your own SEO.
Right. If
you wanted to do those things, why don't you go get a job and do them?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, go back to what we talked about earlier, which is how much do you make per hour? So you're on a commission, yes, but how much does a salesperson make per hour? And if they just divided what they make on a yearly basis, let's say they make 100 grand and they work a certain amount of hours every day, divide the hours by the income, and that's how much you make per hour. And that's where you need to decide. Like for me, I'll give you an example for myself. I used to wash my car because I wanted to save the 15 bucks. But when I did this little formula of how much do I make per hour, and I divided it up and I realized I made a lot more than 15 bucks an hour, I stopped washing my own car. I stopped cleaning my own house because somebody else can do that, and as a salesperson, somebody can go out and make a lot more money than that, than saving their 15 bucks and washing their car. Kind of an example, but.
You bet.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about activity breeds productivity.
Yeah, well, kind of already talked about that with the whole formula. If you know your ratio, see most salespeople, if you ask them, what is your magic number that you're going to talk to today and every day? What's your little discipline of 3, 4, 5, 10 prospects a day, whatever it is? And so that goes back to what we talked about earlier, which is the formula. What is your ratio? And add that up, and there you go. Activity breeds productivity. I mean, how many balls has Tiger Woods hit in his life? I mean, over and over and over. So it's all practice and getting out there and just talking to people. Activity breeds productivity, but not talking to people, talking to a specific number of people. I think that's the key.
Right. Yep. So you wanted to kind of talk about this. This is turn an listing call into a client. So maybe we can keep this brief and keep it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I won't elaborate as much as I was going to, but I'll just scratch the surface to give some people some things to think about. For instance, in real estate, when you get that inbound call on that listing or that floor call or the sign call, a lot of people aren't capitalizing on this opportunity they have where they've invested all this money in marketing, but somebody calls them and they don't know what to say. And I'll give you an example. We do a lot of custom training, and before I do custom training, I like to call into the company, stop by the company, and act like I'm a client, potential client. And what I found in some research that we did in calling into real estate offices and saying, hi, my name is David, I'm looking for a home. Or, hey, I was calling about this listing, is it still available? Which is something I understand that's popular in your guys' business as far as an inquiry. And so what the top 2 questions, and maybe you can guess them if you want to, the top 2 questions that I was getting asked, you want to take a stab?